I will be using my real voice for this video because the video involves specific pronunciations that an artificial text-to-speech voice probably would not be able to make. If you're ever thinking about learning the Spanish language, perhaps this video will make you feel more confident about learning it. Spanish is so easy to learn, in fact, that I can explain so much about it. In this video, I will be explaining the structure of the Spanish language and what you need to understand in order to get a heads up. Let's start with letter pronunciations. In Spanish, almost every letter or combination of letters is pronounced consistently. Let's start with the vowels. Here are their pronunciations. A, E, I, O, U. This accent mark, called the acute, above a vowel, doesn't change its pronunciation. I'll explain what it does later. The letter Y in Spanish is rarely a vowel. As a consonant, its pronunciation is similar to English. And most of the time, combining vowels in Spanish does not combine or create new vowel sounds. Here we have A, AE, AI, AO, AU. Underneath, we have EA, EE, EI, EO, EU. Now in this case, I before a vowel will make more of a Y sound, unless you have the acute above the I. So here the pronunciations would be ya, ye, yo, you. If there were any two I's in Spanish, they would likely be from borrowed words or combined with a suffix or prefix. Underneath that, we have oa, oe, oi, oo, o. And in this case, U before a vowel would make the W sound, unless you have the acute above the U. So here we would have wa, we, wo. If there were any two U's in Spanish, they would likely be from borrowed words or combined with a suffix or prefix. The strong vowels are A, E, and O, and the weak vowels are I and U. The weak vowels kind of blend in with the vowels that precede or follow them, and they count as one syllable. And that is how vowels work. Now let's move on to the consonants. Most of them function just like English, but there are still a few consonants with unique pronunciations. Here are some consonants that are pronounced similarly to English. For the letters P and T, there is less aspiration in their pronunciations, and sometimes the letters M and N switch pronunciations from each other. At the end of a word, the letter M would be pronounced N, and if N comes before B or P, it would have the pronunciation. And now for the rest of the consonants. In Spanish, the letters C and G have hard and soft sounds just like English, and the soft pronunciation comes before E or I. The hard C is pronounced K, and the soft C is pronounced S, or if you were from Spain, it would be pronounced Th. The hard G is pronounced G, and the soft G is pronounced H. The letter H by itself is silent. When following the letter C, it is pronounced Ch, just like English. The letter J is pronounced similarly to H in English. This letter is unique in Spanish, and it is part of the alphabet. It is pronounced Ñ. As a letter, it is pronounced Ñ. There are very few words in Spanish that begin with this letter, and they are mainly only used in certain areas of Latin America. In Spanish, QU is pronounced K, and it only comes before E or I. At the beginning or end of a word, you would trill this letter. Anywhere else in a word, it is pronounced I. I can't trill, by the way. In Spanish, it's not often that you would vibrate consonants. The letter V would be pronounced B in most cases. It may sound like this letter has a slight vibrant sound in some Spanish-speaking countries, same with the letters B and D. But V pretty much has the same pronunciations as B. And the letter Z is pronounced S, or if you were from Spain, it would be pronounced Th. The concept of pronouncing Z and soft C as Th is called ceseo, or ceceo, and the concept of pronouncing them as S is just ceseo. There are verbs for these words too, to pronounce these letters this way. There is another pronunciation concept in Spanish. It's called yeísmo or yeísmo. It refers to the pronunciation of two L's and Y. In most areas of the Spanish-speaking world, they are pronounced ye. But in some areas of Latin America, such as Argentina, Chile, Colombia, and Peru, they are pronounced y, which is pretty much between y and j in English. In Spanish, this letter is more of a consonant. You might not see this letter a lot, as it is really only used between the letters G and E, or G and I. It's never used at the beginning or end of a word. Here is one of those slightly inconsistent letters. Most of the time it is pronounced x, like English, but there is another pronunciation, h. You will only hear this pronunciation in proper nouns and words derived from proper nouns, like Mexico and mexicano. Even though these two letters are part of the alphabet, the letters K and W are only used for loan words and proper names. If they were used, the letter K would make the k sound, like in English, and the W would have two sounds, w and b. If there were any double consonants in Spanish, they would have to have a specific purpose. For two C's, the first C would be hard and the second C would be soft, and they always come before E or I. The two L's in Spanish make the y or j sound. They can be used at the beginning of a word or in the middle, but not really at the end. And the two R's cause trilling, which I already said that I can't do. They're never used at the beginning or end of a word, as a single R already causes trilling in those areas. Any other double consonants are likely from borrowed words or are connected with prefixes or suffixes. The good thing about Spanish is you won't find th, th, chl, or chr in common words. They are replaced with f, t, cl, and cr respectively. And there are also no S consonant blends in Spanish. You won't find any Spanish words beginning with these letters. Spanish also has certain letter arrangements so you can maintain a certain hard or soft pronunciation before any vowel, with the unique spelling for the pronunciation before E and I. Here is how to pronounce the k sound before any vowel. Here is how to pronounce the g sound before any vowel. And just so you can understand, here is how to pronounce the gw sound before any vowel. Here is how to pronounce the s or th sound before any vowel. And here is how to pronounce the h sound before any vowel. In this case, it doesn't really matter whether to use G or J before E or I, but for C and Z, you would rarely see Z before E or I. Okay, now I think I've told you enough about letters and pronunciations, but did you know that syllable stressing in Spanish is also easy? Yeah, there are rules for how Spanish syllables are stressed. If a Spanish word ends in N, S, or a vowel, then the second to last syllable is the most stressed. In any other case, the last syllable is the most stressed. In the case of two vowels at the end of a word, if a word ends in A and a vowel, E and a vowel, or O and a vowel, then the A, E, or O would be the most stressed letter in a word. But if a word ends in I and a vowel, or U and a vowel, then the syllable preceding I or U would be the most stressed, and would need to have an acute in order to be stressed. Oh, and speaking of which, the acute above a vowel indicates that it is not usually the most stressed vowel in a word, but it is in this case. Here are some examples. Fantástico, árbol, cortesía, corazón, inglés, único. If they didn't have the acute, they would be pronounced fantástico, árbol, cortesía, corazón, inglés, único. And if you were already speaking Spanish or know enough about it, these pronunciations would sound awkward. The acute is also used to distinguish words with more than one meaning, and there can only be up to one acute mark in a word, since it focuses specifically on syllable stressing. Don't you see how easy this language is? And just as a heads up, the Spanish language uses 3 diacritical marks: acute, tilde, and diaresis. Here are the letters used for those marks. Spanish also uses the upside-down exclamation mark and question mark. Those are used before statements that are either questions or exclamations. Once you get the hang of how Spanish pronunciation works, you won't even need to listen to a word to know how it's pronounced. It's that easy. Now that you've learned about how Spanish works, try explaining how English works. With a whole lot of irregular rules and inconsistencies regarding pronunciation and stressing, perhaps it would be best for you to learn a second language after all. Perhaps you have a language that you are willing to explain in terms of alphabet, pronunciation, spelling, and more, just as I did with the Spanish language. Maybe you can explain how French, Italian, or Portuguese works. Also, what do you think about my real voice? Should I use this voice for my videos from now on, or do you want me to use my current voice, Russell, Australian English? Or, since I'm speaking with an American accent, do you want me to use my American English voice, Joey? Let me know in the comments section. I will see you later.